there's a difference when you come out of college. All collegiate girls come out into the AVP like, we got it. They coming out of national championship that's happening right now, and they have all this training behind them, and they very successful. And then once they graduate college, their first year, they really they come out as seniors, they come out so strong on the AVP tour. But after 2 or 3 years, they fade away because they don't know how to keep up with the professional training that they've had.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Better at Beach Volleyball podcast, where we learn everything we can about playing and coaching beach volleyball. As always, you're welcome to visit our site, betteratbeach.com, where we have a number of ways for you to get better. We have online training programs that take you step by step through tutorials and drills where you can fix your passing, setting, arm swing mechanics, attacking, defense, and serving and blocking. You can also download our 60-day max vertical jump program. If you've ever asked yourself, am I really doing this right? Am I playing with the best technique, the best strategy, and where do I go for answers? That's what we do. We help players erase bad habits, get more control of the game, and learn high-level strategy. We would love to see you at any one of our 7-day training camps where you can hang out with pros and get over 40 hours of training and playing at beautiful beach resorts, including St. Pete Beach, where our today's guest, Lima, is actually running a fantastic company. It seems like she's running like 9 different companies. So I can't wait to actually talk to her about it. She's a longtime pro, a fantastic coach, entrepreneur that is from the outside, at least can't wait to dig into it. Looks like she's crushing it and creating opportunities for coaches and players everywhere. So we're going to talk to her about that. And as always, if you want to support your sport, beach volleyball, always support the creators and the people who are putting it out there and creating audiences and creating new things for players and enthusiasts to enjoy, because that's where the bigger companies with big monies that can blow up our sport, that's where they look. So if you love this podcast, go ahead and subscribe to it and give us a 5-star rating wherever you are. And if you really like the episode, go ahead and share it with the volleyball players and coaches in your life. Without further ado, Lima, welcome. What's up, girl?
Hey, what's up? I'm a former player.
Yeah, but can you be a former player and still be able to absolutely crush all of your players? Do you feel like you have to pat them on the butt a little bit sometimes just to knock the confidence down one step?
I don't crush all of my players, but I can still teach some lessons like on the court. Let's just say that.
Nice. And now I did a quick glance at BVB info, and it said that you've been playing since you were 15 and you started playing in Brazil, right?
Mm-hmm. I started when I was 15 in Brazil indoor, and then at 16 I started a little bit of beach. So I was playing beach since 16, and then I came to college and didn't play for like 2 years, and then I found the beach community in Lafayette, and then I never stopped playing beach. But Louisiana beach volleyball, we're just playing games and leagues and tournaments on the weekends. But after I graduated from college, I went straight to the AVP.
That's unbelievable. I think for people who are making, now for the women's game, players who are able to make the transition from college to AVP quickly, mm-hmm. It's a strange transition because you all of a sudden, it was always strange because you went from a place where you're nearly coddled. Everything is put out on the court for you. All of your equipment is there. All of your coaches are there. And then you get to the pro standard and it's worse almost, going from college is a better, more professional experience than actually playing pro. And I remember kind of when playing overseas indoor, it was so similar. Where in college, we had a locker room, we had one gym, we had chairs with our logos on it. And then you go over and you play pro overseas and you're literally like playing in church basements in Sweden. Do you think that players are equipped coming out of college to be a professional AVP or FIVB player? Or is there a learning curve that they need to experience first? And what's the most important thing that they need to do in order to make that transition?
Yeah, a little bit of both. You see top players there's just those special players that they understand what it is to be professional and all that. What I was talking to one of my girls, it's Lexi Danaberg. She is at UCLA. And I told her there's a difference when you come out of college. All collegiate girls come out into the AVP like, we got it. they like they coming out of national championship that's happening right now, and they have all this training behind them, and they very successful. And then once they graduate college, their first year, they really they come out as seniors, they come out so strong on the AVP tour. But after 2 or 3 years, they fade away because they don't know how to keep up with the professional training that they've had, just like you mentioned. So I said the difference is going to be the ones that understand that this is how you're supposed to train. Not when you go pro and you're like, hey, let's get a group over here and do triangle setting and then 2 sets to 21. That's not pro training. Pro training means you find a coach, you figure out how to find your way, but you find a coach and you train with that coach as much as possible, understand, or get a group of girls. Sometimes it's better to have 4 or 6 girls and you have the same coach and you guys are able to afford. There's a program built for you. That's what I try to provide over here for my guys, but especially for my girls, that they actually train 5 days a week. And like I said, I try to give them everything they would need in their career before, they get out there. And some have done it alone and some came straight to college to me. So they don't know the difference yet. But when they go alone, if they ever go alone over there, they're going to be like, wow, we had a lot.
I just had a conversation with Billy Allen in a previous episode where we were talking about would American volleyball better off if the AVP kind of forced us to join clubs and then 3 teams or 4 teams all trained together under a coach so that there was a path that you could take. I think so many pros get lost because they don't set their own training plan. They don't set their standards. And then we have this obsession with always training against a new team or a different team, A, because we don't want somebody to know our game fully, and B, because we seem to find this hardcore validity in always playing against a different team. But do you think that players are better off playing with 3 other people? Like if I'm a player, I play with my partner and we train against one team and we have one coach and we have our path? Or would that team be better off, all things equal, of course, just playing against and with a different coach, a different player every single day, where they see the different battles and different problems that they have to solve?
Yeah, well, my experience was when a veteran pulled me up, she said, here's our coach. We're going to train like this. We're going to do like this. So we trained with the same coach every day.
Who was that?
And then Chacon. He used to be in California for a long time. And then he was also the coach of Elaine Young's and either Rachel or Nicole Brenna for a while as well. So we had our own practices at different times, but this would be the team that we got to practice with or against, right? To get our reps. And by the end of the year, they were the 2s. They were 2nd in the nation. We were 3rd in the nation, but that's the only team that we played against.
Ever in practice?
Yes. We may get some, we call the dummies, like younger players just to run, but it was telling you like maybe 2 or 3 times a month. We didn't do anything else. It was just honed in on what we need to get better. Maybe what was the reason why we lost, the last tournament. Let's hone in and make sure we're better over here. Let's create new ways to score. We kind of knew our bracket a little bit, so we would like plan on like, this is how you're going to play against so-and-so, you're going to do these things. So I didn't become a professional until I had that. And then from that on, that's what I try to create for myself as a player. I always got a coach. I want to organize practices. I didn't care who I was training against. It was about me and my partner creating us, and then we'll bring somebody like a team for one day, just give us that. But at the same time on the AVP back then, we played 18 tournaments a summer. So we practice playing at the highest level. Next week, I'm applying at the highest level what I just try to fix during 3 or 4 days of practice before we travel and play again. So I believe like if everybody would have a coach, the level would be so much better. So think about how many girls by middle or end of the season, they all taped up, they got back injuries, they got shoulder injuries, they are overtrained because they go Monday through Friday in California or whoever, even over here, they don't have a coach, playing. Like you can't sustain that an entire year. My girls, my pro players practice 5 days a week. We don't jump on Mondays. Tuesday we jump 25%. Wednesday, it depends if they're traveling or not. It depends when their most important competition is, because if they play a local tournament, it's like, go play tired, I don't care. There's a program planned for them based on their most important, like that. You don't have that in America. And then in Brazil, there's no like, oh, I'm playing professional and they're doing it on their own. It's completely the opposite. Everybody hires a coach. They don't do without a coach. There are no teams showing up without a coach in Brazil, that they're there every day with their coaches.
That's got to be why they're so deep. And I think that's why Europeans completely caught up with the US. For our men's, I hesitate to say done, but we're going to struggle currently. And I'm hoping one of the teams can really step up. But when I was playing indoor overseas, I was also doing some beach coaching and playing some beach. And I couldn't understand because the players couldn't dream of showing up to a volleyball court without, well, who's going to coach it? It was like the equivalent of players in the US saying, well, what net are we going to play on? We don't have a net. Like you would see that as impossible in the US. And the players in Europe were treating that, even at the B and AA level, they were treating that as important as having a net. Like, well, who's going to lead the training? And I saw that difference and I said, that's a little like less than creative, but I think that's important. The fact that they put that much emphasis on a coach. And meanwhile, there are still pro teams who are still in the top 10 that don't have a coach, at least on the men's side. On the women's side, I think that kind of happens a little bit less. What do you think? Do you think that women are more likely to grab a coach and to hold on to it than men?
Yeah. And I train women and men, and it's way easier to start women to train, get women to come at least try out training than men. It's really hard. Men don't want to pay for training. They think if they just get the best together and they scrimmage each other, train or whatever they want to do, the little drills with not a coach and save the 25 to 30 bucks that it is over here versus they think they're going to be better. They're going to play better. Everybody's going to improve because after all, you're getting your reps. But in Brazil, we say you're going to play like you never played before, but you're going to lose like you always lose because you're not fixing yourself.
I like that. I do like when did you come to the US to start playing?
I went straight to college. So I was 19 when I came to US.
Was there a significant difference between how the Brazilian school of training was and how the US school was in terms of college versus that? Because I know the sport club systems are kind of similar in a lot of ways between the US and Brazil. But
yeah, it is, but it isn't though. Like, let's say Rio is a huge city. Everybody knows Rio. Imagine Rio and Florida, right? Like, one of the meccas of volleyball, the sport. How many clubs we have over here? I don't even know the count. In Brazil, when I play, we have 6 clubs. Like there are no, and you don't pay to play. You're invited to play. So if you have one day that you have a bad attitude and that coach is like, you know what? I'm done with you. Bye. And where are you going to go? You're going to go to the other club? Why are you here? You were with the other team. Oh, I got kicked out. They ain't going to take you. So you learn how to be like a professional since you're a teenager because you're playing to show work and then you compete for a spot, but you're not paid. Like you don't pay to guarantee your spot. It's based on you. That was different. And then what I noticed obviously is training was very specific when I got over here. So Mia and one of my best friends, when we were like 15, we both came together and we're both middle blockers. And we were the only middle blockers in the nation that played 6 rotations.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and to today, I still have one of the top 5 career, digs in
awesome.
School.
That's big time. Like, as a middle, what?
Yeah. And play middle back behind the block.
Isn't that shocking that the only position that people are refusing, they like have to put a libero in, is the middle? Where are the schools and why isn't it more frequent that you have somebody who can play middle excellently and is still legit on defense? Because I know that those players and those athletes are out there, and all of these club teams and all of these high school teams, they say, well, no, the middle has to come out. That's an optional substitution. Yeah. That's optional. And some of the girls are clearly better athletes, that are playing middle, and then they get subbed out because there's somebody with a different color jersey for indoor.
But it starts from the beginning, right? You have to create more opportunities and sometimes even more money. You have 2 liberos now in the team and you have 3 middles versus just 4 middles, right? So you have one more person paying for it. I don't know. But I think like they train 6'4" outside hitters to be 6 rotation. Why they're not training middles just to have a good overall.
Right. Yeah. Give them another skill set. It still baffles me. We had a middle who could have done probably whatever he wanted in volleyball, but he just didn't. He liked it in college. He enjoyed it. And he literally said to me, he's like, no, I like my horses. I like taking care of my farm. He goes, college has helped me with agriculture and like agricultural business. And I'm good after college. He got invited to US national team. He didn't even go. He's like, no. But when he was recruited in high school, he had a shoulder injury and he was a 6'9" middle. He had a shoulder injury. And instead of him being out, they used him as a defensive specialist, as a libero. So my coach, without even seeing him play at that point, without like watching the full game, he goes, your coach takes you out because you're the 6'9" middle and puts you as a defensive specialist when you have a hurt shoulder. He goes, you're recruited. I don't need to see any more than hear that statement. And he was a freak athlete. He could have played any position on our team that he wanted. He just ended up being so quick to the pins and so big. Back to getting to the next level, going pro for the volleyball players who are coming out of college. I know that in your program, you see a bunch of different levels. You focus right now on some of the pro players who are already AVP caliber and people who are just pushing that edge, who are in the qualifiers, have the ability to get into the main draw circle. What do you think? What are you seeing as the 2 most important attributes, and they could be mental or physical, but the two most important attributes for getting to the next level?
It has to be let's just say your maturity for the sport, because it comes with the mindset. Being mature, not just like, oh, I pay my bills or I take care of my life, I do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want, like not in an attitude way, but like, this is my life and I can do all this, but can you handle everybody when they start, they have like leaps of getting better, like the most improved player, right? I got that. I went from being like 8th and 9th in the nation around that time. And I jumped in one season for 3rd in the nation. I got MIP, but like, how did that happen? Well, luckily I had a veteran who taught me during practices and during the game how to do that. But I tell everybody, I was like, I don't know how, but thankfully I had the mindset to support that. I was very mature about the game since I was young, probably because coming from Brazil, hold our ish together. We're not like losing our minds. It's like, hey, every day I need to show work and I know my coach has my back and I'm going to struggle. So that's something that really try to teach from my juniors going to college. It's not easy. Like making mistakes is normal. Being good is special. It's not the opposite way. You're supposed to be good and making mistakes is special. It's not like that. So being mature to be able to, can you go an entire season trying to become 1% better? That's tough because everything else is like pretty good, but there's one thing that's holding you back and you have to fix it.
In maturity, are you saying that you mean focus? What would another way to say maturity be for you?
Well, is maturity for me just, I guess, is general for the mindset / attitude, the focus, right? The discipline. It involves all the untangible things that you do in volleyball, right? And then another thing that makes a huge difference, that when you become a pro, like for me, it changed my game when I had a coach and a strength and conditioning coach and putting in work off the court. Like it's not just train. Everybody trains in the whole entire world. They can get 5 to 20 practices a week. That's not going to make a difference. But are you intentionally doing conditioning? We call physical technical drills, like kind of like what you saw what we were doing, right? When you came train.
Everything's footwork or volleyball movement based, but with a physical, like additional challenge or a weight vest or something.
Sometimes we include balls, sometimes we don't. And plus we have running and conditioning. Like conditioning is what you watch, kind of like the circuits, and then running sprints. And everything is like the intensity goes up and down depending where they are in the season and upcoming competitions. That I learned from my coaches as a player, and I kept on like brainstorming with them. And now I can call them and be like, help me out. How do I build this for my team? And that made me a pro. I was already training. I was already playing tournaments. I was already having pretty good like miracle fifths with Angela Lewis on the AVP. But then what got me from fifths to 6 semifinals the next year in a final? A full-time coach, the ability to handle training at a much higher level and failing at a much higher level, which for me, I love challenge. So I embrace that. And also, if I didn't have the conditioning to sustain the amount of training and the physicality, like, yes, we all want to improve our vertical, and you will improve your vertical until you get to the point where, at your career, you're improving your vertical at 1%, at 5%. You're not improving your vertical like from the beginning of your career to, you start with like, especially guys, I don't know, like 22 inches and you go to 40 inches in the matter of like 3 to 5 years. But like you're at that 1% but can you sustain your best jump the longest an entire tournament? That is conditioning.
As far as like the most important attribute, I feel like you're saying the ability to plan out a season with practices and training. So almost if we dial it down, like if we brought it back into its simplest form, like the person who can plan the best, and design a real season might be the person who is to the next level faster than somebody else who might just be playing. Would you agree with that? Is that kind of what you're saying?
I'm so passionate about that stuff. It's just hard to pick too,
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, and maybe because I'm already thinking it's like you have a coach and this coach is doing this conditioning. If I put work on this outside stuff, which is the outside work, everybody lifts, but some people skip, but the conditioning makes a huge difference. And if you can do the untangible things, working on yourself to be more mature, aka develop you as a person to become the player that you want to become.
What's one actionable thing that somebody could do tomorrow? One actual thing that they can do tomorrow to live what you're saying? Like
hire a coach.
Step one, hire a coach. Boom.
Figure it out and hire a coach and be like, can you plan a season for me where I'm not going to get burned out? We're going to work our best not to get injured. and you're going to get me in shape. That's huge. And then on your own, you're going to have to probably hire, I would say a sports psych or get a mentor. Hey, could you be my mentor? I would love to talk mindset with you. I'm struggling at this. How can I make this better? And then have weekly or bi-weekly meetings. That it was also something that when I became a pro with all this system, they told me, you need to get somebody to help you with your mindset. And not because I needed my mindset.
I think mentors are difficult to find. Like they hide themselves. There aren't too many who announce themselves as say, hey, we're available for you. You do it. I do it. There's a few other people who are putting themselves out there. Sam Pedlow, Dustin Watton does it for indoor.
Josh Binstock in California.
Josh Binstock is now doing it even more and more. And these are people who are shouting, and we have to shout so repeatedly, like, hey, we're here if you want help. If you're not paying attention to one of the 5 of us, then I think it's so tough for people to actually find somebody who it's like, hey, can you lead me? It's almost like mentors have to find their students and seek them out, when it should be the reverse. But then when you're looking out for a mentor, it looks like there's hundreds of thousands. So how do you choose? And I think that's a difficulty that a lot of people run into, of finding that person that they want to guide them through their at least a part of their season or their whole season or their career, when that would be the fastest way to get better.
Yeah, but what can you do yourself then, right? So you're going to be proactive. So the first AVP that I had, this veteran in Chacoma as a coach, I took on myself to read books, the Mind Gym. I luckily got introduced to Mike Gervais. I had a couple of sessions with him, but then everything else was on my own. In Pursuit of Excellence, whatever, all the mindset books. And I was like, I was a professional. So my free time is dedicated to volleyball. Did I watch film? I'm looking at everything. It wasn't like, I just read somebody saying how to be more mature about volleyball, watch film, but don't watch your highlights, study yourself. Like, because people want to see, oh, look how cool, because that's what they want to put on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok.
And don't watch trying to prove yourself right. That's what people do. They think they have this notion of, I know how it's done. And then they watch the film like, yes, I did exactly how I think it's done. That's not helping you. If you already know that that's like what you should be doing, you need somebody who can challenge all of the things that you're not seeing, because your mind is only cued into what you think is right and what you think is wrong. And so you're not changing when you watch your own film, with the exception of seeing like some of the big ones where you know what's right and you're like, oh my God, I didn't get my feet stopped. Like, come on. But you don't get any fresh ideas, which means that you don't actually see any exponential growth unless you have somebody else looking at your stuff.
What's been really, really fun is you had an interview with her. Like, I've been working with Kim Hildreth this year.
She's great. And she's just a great human.
And she's been successful, right? She has a good career already, but her openness to tweak the things that I told her I thought was going to make her better. And we tweaked her passing. We tweaked her setting. We added to her setting. She can jump set any ball now. She can, set whatever. Like, it's been super cool to see. We tweaked her second balls. We tweaked her hitting a lot. Actually, we did a lot with her hitting. We tweaked her defense.
How long does each of these tweaks take for you? So when you see something, do you like comment on it and go piece by piece, or do you say, hey, these next 2 weeks, we're going to add this to your on-2 game, just this little tiny piece? Do you have a how long it takes process, or how long?
I think it depends it really depends on the athlete.
Okay.
She was willing to get 1% better all the time. And she's really good. This practice, my goal is to do this and this and this. So I don't care if you miss. I don't care if you hit 2 courts away, but we're getting your wrist faster. 1,000 balls out and you get 10, we're winning. To have that mindset and being okay making those mistakes is hard if you're an athlete who seeks confirmation of how good you are all the time.
That's a great point. Seeking confirmation of how good you are. That's a thing people need to watch out for, but you don't know when you have it. Maybe this conversation will make people think, like, maybe it'll make them think.
That was cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's on her success. I tell everybody, guys, when I coach, you see me, like, I coach passionately, like a good Brazilian does. I'm there with you guys in practice. But I said, I've done it. I want you to get it before I got it. Your success depends on you, not on me.
When you're coaching, and maybe it can come from your history too, but what technique do you think people get wrong the most, as far as like across the board? If there's one thing that the most people think that they're doing right, but they are doing wrong or not at its best form. What skill do you think that is, or what part of a skill?
Well, I love setting. I need and pick setting. Most of my players, when they go and play with other players, they're like, whoa, their sets are so different. Really like the slow moving, slow peak. We're not carrying, but it's just making the ball moving the same tempo. So I say, you got to nail the tempo and the peak, and then location will come, right? So if the ball's moving consistently all the time, you as a hitter be like, I got time to take a step in. I got time to take a step out. But if the ball moves here, 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 and it's different times, and that's when you're rushed. So now you don't know as a hitter when to take off. But if your ball is always moving this way over and over again, even if it's a tempo and it moves this way, something different.
So like faster hands versus, I know we're talking on camera, sometimes we have to like dial it back for if somebody's listening audio version. So Bree just made like a fast motion with her hands and then a slow motion with her hands. And if you hit one ball fast, or sorry, if you set one ball fast and one ball slow, because of the different rhythm in your hands or how fast or slow even your forearms move on a forearm set, changing the rhythm of what you look
of your
like,
hitter,
their timing gets jacked.
So are we going to be able to face all the time where we want to set? No, because the game is so dynamic, but trying your best, right? So at the end, I always tell us like, give your hitter psychological safety, show your hitter what do you intend to do, and just let the ball move really slow from there.
Okay.
And then you as a hitter, you're going to appreciate that. For me, I think there's a lot more better setting to happen all around versus just throwing a ball. I tell my players, if you play with me, it's going to be really hard because I need the slow tempo set. I'm not young that I can explode and go get a ball, where guys can explode, get a ball, be like, yeah, the good set, dude. But like,
but was it really a good set? Yeah, you just recover from that, it's not like you recover from it and it looks like you could still hit hard because you're jumping high and you're strong. It still masks itself because that's repeatable over 100, 1,000 sets.
And that's what I say, simple is repeatable. You want to show consistency.
When you see Ricardo set, it's crazy how even when he's running, falling, standing still, the speed of his forearm lift stays exactly the same.
That's exactly
like he'll be falling, he'll be on one leg, about to land on his knee, and that platform, that slow platform just still moves in slow motion. And you're like, it looks like, when they put in an action movie and somebody's like shooting and diving at the same time, and they always put it in slow motion. That's how it looks like when he sets or when he's falling or diving. Is he moving fast or slow? I
tell my juniors, I say, you're a ninja on the bottom, like move your feet really fast, but you're dancing waltz on top. Then another thing, if they're falling, I say, we call it holding the baby. Have you ever seen anybody fall with a baby and put the baby down to hold themselves?
I see people like pools and on the beach playing volleyball with beers in their hands. I've never, thankfully, not too many people that I see are falling with babies in their hands. But if we can throw it to my adult like campers out there, like, just pretend you're not spilling the beer as you fall. Yeah, that would be a great drill.
I can't say that to my juniors.
No, good point. Good point. Yeah.
Ask me how I know that nobody drops a baby.
How do you know?
I felt with a baby in my hands. I felt with a baby in my hands. And I don't know why. All I remember is that I was on the ground and the baby was on top of me like this. I was holding it up. And I was like 9 years old and I had a baby.
And just that's the day you became an elite setter.
And I was trying to explain, how do you make somebody hold it like it's an emergency? Don't let it go. It's like, hold the baby.
And I think metaphors are the answer for elite coaching. Like you have to be able to transfer to say what you want to say, but just so that somebody else understands it. Maybe my best skill set as a coach is just the ability to say one thing in 50 different ways, until like something clicks on you. And I think that's why some coaches actually fail with athletes, because they say one thing over and over and over and over, and they keep saying that same thing, but it's like, can you put it in some different words for me? Or can you show me? Or can you have somebody else show me the difference between where you're trying to get? Like, I don't think enough coaches have a metaphor database in their head for each skill or each way. I think because you and me end up coaching so many athletes that we have to use so many, because we have so many individuals. Like somebody who coaches a college team, I'm not knocking them, of course, but if you're only coaching 12 athletes per year, you find the 12 metaphors that work for slowing down when you're setting, then you're done there. But if you have somebody new on your court every single day and they don't get number 12, then you got to move on to 13, 14, so you get a bunch of tool belt.
But even with 14, like my wife is a college coach and I helped her so many times. We still, her, and when I helped her, we still got to find those ways. And because when players are younger, they forget, they don't sustain and retain everything. So if we're like on season and we got like, okay, we honed in on this type of technique and then we're building out the techniques. When you try to apply in the beginning of the season, they might have forgotten and we have to review that. So, and same thing with upcoming pros, like or my juniors. I know I taught them, but they don't sustain it and retain it. So I have to have a little reminder. Hey, remember that practice isn't this? Hey, let's get 3 reps this way so we can move on and do this new thing where you can apply. But I joke with my players, like, you chose me to be your coach. I try to speak, all these languages, but after 3 months, y'all need to speak pre.
Once they understood, once you got them to understand what you're trying to say, then you can say it however you want. That first border that you have to get past in order to do it.
Yeah. I have 2 former indoor setters that I coach. One is Kim and one is Kinley Adams. So like early wrists or early hands or get your wrists ready, cock your wrist back, whatever it is. So we've been finding, and then it's like 2 or 3 months, one thing works, and then all of a sudden it's gone and we need to find it, but we're saying the same thing. But then with somebody more experienced as Kim, she finds it right away and she sustains it longer. And now we found one that I think like is helping Kinley and she sustains longer. It's more talking about her hands versus her wrists, to be able to set. But that's what I tell them, say, hey, whatever, if I forget your cue, remember when I say that, it means this to you. So I try to help them, and that's why I think it's so important to take notes on your practice, which I did. You become a student of yourself in the game. We, as you saw, we have water and notes. They don't go just to water. They're supposed to go over there and write the cue, or, if I have my players who also coach for me, write the drill, they're going to remember better and the goal of the drill or what do you need to get better and what are you adjusting, what are you not adjusting. So we always do that.
When you write that, when you have them write in their journal, because I'm actually trying to develop a volleyball performance journal where it's just prompted, you could let it. So it asks the questions that every coach would want them to answer on a water break and after practice. But would you have the tips that they want to stick? Would you have that just for that day? Or would you have a section of like tips you want to stick? Or is that the entire journal? Is the entire journal just made of tips you want to stick?
Yeah, that's kind of like that, because some days you're going to struggle with, some days like go back. If I'm not there, hey, this past match, you struggle with this, go back on your notes. If we're learning something very new or very important, I tell them to put a box. So then when you flip, you're going to see it. And then there's something that I love that I said is one of our sequences that we call when I am tired. And then you're going to be, when I am tired, I don't move my feet. When I am tired, I don't adjust well to my set. When I am tired, my arms are not early to pass, so they start learning themselves, like, that you take 1 or 2 reps, like, oh, I'm tired, I need to work hard on this. But younger players or less experienced players, they can be older, but they have less experience at the high levels. Like, we got to catch when I am tired a lot faster, not after 7 points.
That's interesting. I have a weird take on fatigue in game because I have been pretty well conditioned, like I did a lot of the outside gym work. So when people talked about fatigue and how tired you get and how important conditioning was, maybe I automated like the outside training so well, but I never understood, how do you get tired? This is beach volleyball. Like I couldn't understand that there was fatigue. I do see it in some players, and then you'll see like one little bit of technical slide. That something just falls apart for a single point, or they fall asleep because they don't put 100% energy, they put like 95, and that's where it goes. And I think the first wake-up call wasn't really a wake-up call, but I learned it over time when people said, oh, they just lost focus. I used to hate fans who would say that about anyone. They're on the court, like there's no way they're losing focus. But then I caught it in myself where I said there were points where I didn't stare straight at the server, straight at the serve contact, and like fully 100% engaged before the point started. I kind of stared at his body, was there. I didn't set myself up in a perfect athletic position. And I think those are the details that a lot of definitely young players and non-perfectionists miss. Are you going to start every point the exact same way and with full 100% intention? And I finally understood what some of the fans were saying and lost focus. But in fatigue, I imagine that happens as well. And the only times I've experienced that is Florida, Texas, New Orleans, because I'm just heat. Like trying to keep my eyes open as sweat is dropping into like my pupils.
My favorite. I love that feeling. So the people that don't prepare as well, they get fatigued. And then some people think that they're tired or fatigued when they breathe hard. And I'm like, at the end of the drill or at the end of that point, look back right now in less than 15 seconds, could you have done more? Yes. I said, well, your mind is playing a trick on you. When you're fatigued, you go and then all of a sudden your leg trembles and you like fall on your knees before you're supposed to. That's fatigue. Breathing hard sometimes is not fatigue. I'm all about mental health. I'm all about balance. I'm all about longevity on the sport. Hello, I played for a long, long time. So I try to teach them that it's not about pushing your body, but you need to check yourself out. Are you freaking out because you're breathing hard? There was a player on the tour on the AVP back then. Every time she came to Florida, Texas, she looked at me. She's like, "You're gonna serve me short and deep, aren't you?" Yes, that was the game plan, and she knew. And guess what? Nowadays, people be like, "Well, but she knows, but she knows that I know that she knows she knows, so I should change." No,
Yeah.
here you go, because it's already in your head. Here you go. Go again. Go again. Go again.
Yeah, I had two partners that was the answer. Serving short long enough, and we would crush for a full set, and then it would get really tight in the second set, and if it went to a third set, we were in trouble, and the tour knew, because it seemed like this happened match after match after match. And it almost seemed like the whole tour was just like ganging up on you because everybody did it. So if we won the first two, the third team was like, thanks, first two teams. For local tournament players, I think that's valid. That, hey, if it's not working for you in pool play by serving the person short, but you think that's the right strategy, you might meet them first game of playoffs, second game of playoffs. You might come back against them. And now with this new stupid modified pool play, I will go full throttle on saying that is the stupidest way to run a tournament and gives nothing in terms of rankings. You might as well just not rank anybody at all. But that could be one of your valid points, where now you're modified pool play for a qualifier. So, hey, you're going to run into this team again if you make it to the quarters or the semis. So even if you don't beat them this time, you'll have fatigued them enough so that it'll pay off in the long run. And I think people think about individual matches sometimes maybe a little too much, but a strategy like that can work over time. It's just embarrassing when it does for the person who can't handle a full match or a full tournament.
Yeah. But it comes down to the training.
Yeah.
You can play all the volleyball you want in the deepest sand and play volleyball. Are you training? Are you working on your skills to be efficient of how you get to that ball, how you push off, how you're going to get your footwork over there? So, the entire time using more energy, you're not efficient. And then are you doing your conditioning? Are you going to do conditioning all the time? No. Why are people doing, are you going to run every day? No, that's not. You have to get a professional to do that. Once I had a professional, and then I learned from my professional coaches, then I was able to build this, and obviously I've had less people or less investment and slowly growing my program. And then this is the year I'm going full throttle with them. And I said, we're doing this. You guys are going to do what I did when I was playing my best volleyball. And it's been really cool to see results.
I think people forget a very important point in terms of conditioning. Your body, the more you do a singular movement, the more your body figures out how to do it better, faster, easier, while costing less energy, actual less calorie burn, the more you do a similar movement. So if you're going in there and, for all the dudes out there who are chucking through bench press and burning all of their calories, on a bench press and on hardcore shoulder presses, it's you could be utilizing these calories towards building a pathway that will make this movement easier for you during matches. And when you do get so fatigued, hey, guess what? Your pathway is built. So your body will default to that instead of some sloppy other movement that wasn't ingrained every single movement.
Yeah.
And I think every time I see a Brazilian training on Instagram or one of those, it's all those movements. It's nonstop step shuffle. It's nonstop step outside. All of their movements is not just erratic movements or jumping in random directions. It's so close to how they would move in the game. And there's so much movement in between touches and a lot of drills, but they also have a million touches of practice because they got 9 people coaching them.
I just show my players a picture of my coaching staff in 2011. I had a coach, an assistant coach, 3 arms, and a ball checker.
Incredible. Gosh. And Lucas, who's taking your classes, he's in Brazil, it was costing him $50 a month for that, for training every day with that many people. I was just dang, It should be
Yeah.
the answer for every American, like to go down there and use the exchange rate and get 1 million touches per practice with perfect conditioning.
For
Somebody
sure.
can come up with a better company, a better way to train and help players sustain their living up here, because that's the hardest part
Yeah.
is, yeah, I want to commit
Florida's
all these hours,
cheaper.
but I don't have the money to be able to pay rent.
Florida's cheaper. I provide group training. I have partnership with chiropractors who you got to
Yep.
see him too. Other companies, anything. I call my Optimum Beach team. So like I have chiropractors, massage therapists, whatever you need, everything at discounted price, because I feel for the pros nowadays where they don't make the money that I was able to make when I was playing. So I want to try to like, you might train in a group, but you are going to improve. Like, I'm not going to show up like I don't care about you. I'm more devoted. I feel like I'm more devoted to your volleyball than you are sometimes. I tell them all the time, you're gonna, like I said, your success is with you because I'm presenting everything to be success's. So that's on you.
I love the
But
program that you've got there and how many options players have for health, for body work. And, you were the first person that I called when I was like, hey, I know elite athlete, elite coach, you're going to like take care of your body. So there's gotta be people, here who are doing good body work. And as soon as you recommended your place, I went there, signed up for an appointment, and yep. If I were a physical therapist or if I were a chiropractor, I think the elite athlete population is probably the first people that I would start trying to get on my side, or I would just sponsor them because people trust them. Who do you go to? Like, people actually will seek out, they seek out their friends and advice, but more often people will ask us, who do you go to? So if you're out there and you're a physio or you're a chiro, go and sponsor an athlete with some body work. And I guarantee you, if you have openings in your calendar, they will fill them with their recommendations. That'll be worth. There's your marketing budget right there. Give an athlete an hour a week.
I think something that is really important, that's whoever is used to work with an athlete, the mindset is, how do we keep you in the game while you might have some tweaks where you go another place. Like I have my best friend in Brazil is like, oh, my doctor said I need meniscus surgery. I was like, what kind of meniscus? What's going on? And then it was something minimum. I was like, no, go look for a performance doctor. Don't look for a regular doctor. Because some people might need to, I feel like there's physical therapy for the general population. There's physical therapy for an athlete.
Yes.
And then there's sports performance therapy. And
there's the rules that you're locked in because people are scared, afraid of insurance and the whole doctor thing. I currently have a broken foot. So fell out of a tree. Sucks. I'm out of commission. But one doctor that I went to was the fastest appointment that I can get. Not who my people recommended, but I wanted to get into somebody fast. So I went to somebody who he, first of all, couldn't find the fracture on the x-ray. That's bad enough. And I was like, here it is. I will point out where it is, where the emergency room showed me. But then he was like, I was telling him how easy certain movements were and that there was no pain. And he was like, no. This needs to be in a boot for 8 weeks. Well, actually 9 weeks, because I have an appointment available in 9 weeks. So keep it in a boot for 9 weeks and then we'll see if it's there. I go, no movement. I just told you that all these things don't cause any pain, any issue. And I said, if you keep me in a boot for 9 weeks, it's going to cost me an extra 5 weeks just to get my mobility and some version of strength and flexibility back. I go, so now you're telling me with your advice that this is going to be a 14-week situation when I know that my people can get me back in 6, 7, if I take care of it and eat right. Yeah, total. And, I'm connected with a bunch of people. So I said, this is what he said. What do you guys think? And I've been through enough injuries where I know that this was BS. And they're like, oh, why? Why would you leave a boot on when you're sitting around the house doing nothing and when you can move pain-free? But they're so locked in general population and insurance and, what their system tells them that they have to do instead of working with people who are like, no. I don't want to walk again. I want to play in 6 weeks. I want to play professional volleyball in 6 weeks. How do we do that? He goes, impossible. Oh, interesting. Because I've got 6 people who are within a block of me telling me what they can do.
I think, when my wife had cancer, so we did chemo and holistic treatment, and then everything else for me is like, this is what they know. For us as athletes is understanding this coach sets this way. This other coach sets this way, and they don't like each other's way. So that's what they believe in, and that's all they know. And that's why there's something more specified for athletes nowadays. We're much luckier than we used to be, where it was hard to find even a performance gym. Everything was just gym.
Yeah, some space
Personal
where I
trainers were
can where I
just
can run.
fitness. Personal like training was fitness. It wasn't like, hey, I'll be your strength and conditioning coach. It was hard to find those.
Yeah. And then thank God it's easier now. And thank God that gyms have the areas with, if I see a
Functional
gym
training.
with a turf area that's like longer than 20 yards or longer, I'm like, this is my place. I am so happy you exist, you know, and I'll go there way over the meathead, like box gyms with all the stupid machines that waste time and money. But for a different podcast, slamming the current gym culture. I don't want to keep you for too much longer. I do want you to talk about the 27 different companies that you're currently running. And I don't want to have you on the other podcast so we can like talk about like the business side of it. But let's start with Rise Beach Tour.
So Rise Beach Tour, we're very small, and we started like, we have 5 stops last year, and there was a little gap between like having good quality tournaments, and we wanted to present something that it's me, former Brazilian player. He also played FIB, Rodrigo Saunders, and his wife and my wife. We're the 4 owners of the company, but we wanted like players to come in, play, they know where they're going to go, everything is online. He's so cute, like he rakes between matches.
Great.
You know, like we just wanted to be like, hey, we know what it is to show up at a local tournament and you don't know what time you play, or you like there's no communication, and we just want to run something smooth for you. And we want to, at that time, some tours over here weren't paying like in person, where it used to be common. So why we're not paying people in person anymore? We're like, we'll pay on the dot, transfer straight to your account right away. I'll Zelle you to our account. You know,
is it juniors or adult focused?
Both.
Okay.
Both. So here on Saturdays, we run adults, all levels.
Where's
And
here
on
again,
Sundays,
so that everybody knows?
Sorry, St. Petersburg, Florida.
Nice.
And then on Sundays is co-ed and juniors. So
And
we're having our first one this year, Memorial Weekend. So
Cool.
if you're playing pro in New Orleans on AVP, go get your money.
Yeah.
But if you're not traveling to watch them, come to St. Pete and play a fun tournament with us.
Awesome. And I think we had another episode, don't remember which one it was, but we talked about tournament organizers and how the large majority of them, it's like an embarrassing product that they're putting out. They are putting it out, you know, they're creating ability to play. But as far as, hey, do you run the best tournament, or are you the only one around here who runs tournaments? There's a big difference in that. And if you can't finish a tournament before sunset, something went terribly wrong in your scheduling. And on the next day, you need to go back and say, what did we do wrong? Why did our finals have to be played in the dark with, you know, third through first splitting a check? That to you should be, you should give the first place prize money to every one of those teams, because you didn't do your job as the tournament organizer. And I understand for the first year, there's going to be hiccups, but if you're going to keep putting that product out and keep inviting players, do a better job and have somebody walk around, point at a player and say, you're up. If you don't start your match in 60 seconds, you are out of the tournament. People just aren't mean enough to be able to do that. So I think everybody needs like an enforcer, you know, a goon, if you will, at every tournament organizer, or somebody who's just willing to say, guys, we need a good product. So please start your tournament, because I don't want you to have to sit here and, you know, argue with your family members because you need 12 hours for your tournament day instead of like, hey, we could get this done in 8.
For sure.
Yeah.
We have a wife for that. She's been working with us and she's awesome, from South Florida. And another thing is like, we make people play for third. You cannot split.
So long as you're not making them play in the dark.
No, wherever we've been, we've had lights. So because we had rain delays and all that, we do that. And over here in Florida, because we always anticipated some type of rain delay, weather delay, we always say like, expect 16 or 18 teams or more teams. We might go to 2 days. So
that's a different story. If you got to play in rain, things like that. But if you're not finishing in 1 day, or, you know, there's one pool that took literally an hour and a half longer than all the other pools, it's not the pool's fault. It's not the player's fault. It's who's ever organizing the tournament director. It's got to be their fault. So I want to put I'm leaning on tournament directors, and I want to put some pressure on them to run better, easier, faster tournaments that people can predict. And, you know, you're not sitting around out there.
Challenge accepted.
Nice. I like it. Rise Beach Tour. Next, Optimum. You have clubs in multiple states you have a strong online presence. So what is everything that Optimum Beach Volleyball includes?
So Optimum Beach started as, I've always had I actually only had 2 or 3 juniors, and I had 2 or 3 adults. I started, word of mouth, just growing. Long story short, when my wife went through cancer, it kind of folded, and I just had I built it to something like having more kids, more groups, and then I had to, slow it down again because I was her primary caretaker. And then we rebuilt it since 2016.
Oh, wow. It started that long ago.
2017. We started in 2014. So in 2015, she was diagnosed with cancer. So a year and a half of treatment. And then I was back into full-time coaching and being able to build everything. And then you have dreams and you have vision, and you're like, okay, but I never knew when it was going to happen. Our adults grew tremendously. And then our juniors now, we started growing juniors more outside of St. Pete. So we're in Tampa, Tampa, Palm Harbor, and Temple Terrace.
When you say the adults grew, the juniors grew, what programs does Optimum run that adults partake in and that juniors partake in?
So for juniors, we have juniors beginners, juniors intermediate, and the advanced juniors is called Collegiate Recruiting Training Program, level 1 and level 2. So ultimately you want to graduate to level 2. That's who trains with me, and then is right before they go to college. Those are my highest level juniors.
Okay. So that's club volleyball?
That's club. Okay. Well, I don't run entirely as a club. We have a piece as a club that we travel together to 3 to 5 competitions as a club and represent the club. Everything else, I run them. I'm their coach, mentor, and trainer.
Okay.
I'm getting you ready for college, but in a group scenario, because I don't think playing club all the time gives them preparation. They're over there, some clubs is oh, we got you, 20 of you go, and we try to keep our accounts not huge, but not small. Yeah. But we try to provide quality. We do have little big spikers, 6 through 9-year-olds too.
Nice.
And then our adults, we have women's pro, men's open, women's open, men's AA. We're about to start a men's A.
Nice.
We used to have women's AA. So it kind of it floats depending on demand,
and that's
travel.
That's focused in Florida. Okay, so that's focused in St. Petersburg in Florida for adult training and juniors training and kids training. That's awesome. If somebody were to, because a lot of people travel, and our camps are in St. Pete, but we're only there a few weeks a year. So if somebody were to travel to St. Pete for vacation or just for volleyball, because there are a lot of them, could they look you up and could they just drop in?
Yes. So we have available drop-ins. We try to match you up with the best possible group for your level. And then if not, we also offer private lessons. I have many coaches available for private lessons. My time is kind of hard to get in. So it really depends. And if you come with a group, we can cater to you. So, you coming with I've had that. I have Natasha from New York. She came for her 50th and she brought 9, 10 friends.
Cool.
And I did a training camp with them for that week.
Great.
So we can cater training and.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So a group of friends wanted to go down and they were taking a group vacation. So they came to you and they said, hey, can you train all of us at the same time together? And you were willing to do that and you made their trip.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. And that's all at optimumbeach.us. Is that right? Is that the website? Optimumbeach.us. Cool.
Yeah. And most information you can get through our Instagram, and then you DM us and they quickly just send you where you need to go. Depending on the level or whatever you're looking for, they send you to me, or most of the things are going to go towards Jules, who's my co-director. Jules. Her name is Jules Colina.
I don't know why I called her Coles. Awesome. What was her name? Dang it. Now I'm trying to remember what her name was before she got married.
Ridley.
Jules Ridley. And you have clubs with the Optimum name in Tennessee and in New York, and you're also doing a lot with Volleyball. So what's going on there?
So I have satellite clubs. I'm a partner owner in New York, and then satellite in Kentucky and Tennessee. And Dorsey, who owns Volleyball, him and his wife own Kentucky and Tennessee. So Volleyball is his facility and apparel company, but his beach volleyball training is Optimum.
Okay, cool.
So what we do
is a little partnership there.
Yeah. So what I like to do with them is pretty much coaching the coaches, and becoming a big family. So we had a club v club competition. So it's how many of your girls can come? How many of your girls can come? And we just mix them up. they're all optimum. They all have the same, they understand the same terminology or whatever we talk about. And then they play together. And it was really cool to see that somehow the way I made the teams, none of the girls that train in the same state ended up playing with each other. So we had Tennessee and Florida, Kentucky and Tennessee, and you couldn't tell they never played together. And to me, sitting back and seeing that for the first time, I was like, it works. This worked. You know what I mean? Like when you get you get to play volleyball with somebody that doesn't have a system.
Yes.
Right? It's hard. That's like, oh, we didn't gel well. Well, you don't have a system. So either you implement the system, but as a junior, how much is a junior going to implement the system?
Right.
Not a lot. But our juniors, like I train them, this is a system, but you're going to talk to your teammates, whoever you, or your partner, whoever it may not be from ops, and you're going to figure it out how you're going to do their system or your system, suggest our system or play around their system. Because once you have a system, you understand what's outside of the system. But if you don't have a system, you don't understand any system.
For club coaches out there, and I think you and me both see this huge opportunity to help club directors specifically to say, you don't have the weekly meeting with your coaches that discusses the words that you use and the way that you teach this. And so instead of somebody being in your club for 4 or 5 years and a linear growth line, something where they progress, they grow with one coach, and then the next year there's just this huge zigzag for the first 2 months until they learn a completely different system, way of talking, way of learning, and then they go there. So instead of this like just continuing to increase their skills and ability and knowledge, a lot of the club directors who are still doing great things, they're just, again, not directing it, going back to players, like no mentor, no director, no, hey, how can somebody else look at my club and what would they say about our coaching when they see it? And I've walked into a lot of juniors club and coaching practices where that's exactly what you see. You just see it's sporadic, so there's no progression from being 12 years old until 18. It's you join a team for a year and then you join a new team for a different year, but you're wearing a jersey with the same name on it. That's the, that's the only thing, except for teams like Sports Performance in Illinois, who turns out products. They have a system, every coach is on the same thing, and they turn out products, and a college coach can predict the type of player that's going to come out of that. So it's an advantage. And I think there's just a lot of room in the consultation space for club directors and for coaches, but it's also tough to admit to yourself that somebody knows better than you, but it's not that they know better. They can just see from different eyes.
Yeah. Well, the reason why my wife and I chose the name Optimum, because it's not the only way, it's the best possible way. So I never tell my players, I know everything. This is the only way. This is what worked for me. This is what I'm learning. I'm always talking to my mentors, former players, former coaches, whatever, and try to figure it out. And the game is growing, is developing, and is becoming something new. And I'm always presenting something new. So I have players with me for 6 years. They like, I don't remember doing like the same drill over and over ever. So I love my creativity. That's the difference. And I think thankfully I have met many club directors that are growth mindset. I tell our coaches, like, if we want our players to be growth mindset, we need to be growth mindset. We need to have it. Because it starts, we need to live it. It cannot be, you got to do and I don't do whatever.
100%. Yes.
So, and I'm only growing like satellites. I'm not in a hurry to grow that. I want to find the right people. Dorsey and Emily are like my second family, my third family that I found in the United States. And it's awesome. I trust them with blind-eyed, and they believe in Optimum so much. Sometimes it makes me work harder because of them, and in New York is Steph Bogda, who I coached since I was 14, and her.
She's awesome.
So everything she knows is Optimum. And I was like, I trust that kid. And I love seeing her develop into an entrepreneur, a coach, a director. She's doing such a good job, while going through med school. Like, it's insane.
Bonkers. That's all awesome.
So I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I love this. And do I need more? I don't need more. Do I want more? Yes, because I want to create this atmosphere that we have created. I tell my players, we're a family, but it's like you have a third cousin, second cousin. You don't like all of them in your club or maybe in your college team, but you have to learn how to live with them and be family. So it creates a lot of like accountability of what you do.
And that's one of those, those nice slides that people can take from sport And if they focus on it, can take that into their family, their next level life of who they go with. When first start living with somebody that you're in a relationship with, you have to understand that you're not going to like every single little minuscule part of them and every single thing that they do. But as a teammate going through sports, before you have to deal with that, you take a look at all your teammates. You're like, he does that, but we're going to succeed together, and if people could translate that. I think some people have trouble translating that from their court to their personal life. And if they could just focus and just make that little bridge of like, I did that on the court. I know how to do that. I can do that in my personal life and be a better wife, be a better husband, be a better roommate, whatever it is, dad, mom. I think that's one of those really tangible situations where you can say, I know that you don't like your middles arm swing, but you're still going to set them. And you're going to like make their arm swing work for them, and you're going to celebrate them, and you can find any situation for your
do not
home
stop
life.
setting your middle if you have a beef with him right now. That doesn't matter. Like it's professionalism, being mature, right? All that stuff to play the sport. But with Optimum, I'm really happy that I was able to create these opportunities for either my former players, and I have a lot of my pro players that coach, or my men's open that coach for me. So I love providing opportunities. I have former junior players who are playing currently in NCAA, but they come back and do internships with me. So they help me with the business side of it, or I had two that one ran Optimum, the other one ran Rise Beach Tour. So I just love providing more opportunities for everybody, and hopefully, just help them make more money or get experience to get those hours that they need from college. And I'm really proud because obviously, like everybody else, you go through hardships. And last year we got voted Florida Region Directors of the Year, Jules and I was Florida Female Coach of the Year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And this year, awesome. I cannot believe it hasn't sunk in yet. We are USCV Club of the Year, Juniors Beach Club of the Year. And I also got awarded Female Beach Coach of the Year by USCV.
Just cleaning it up. How did you hold all the trophies and awards after the dinner?
I only have two right now. So when I get the other two, I'll let you know.
That's awesome.
I don't know, when you work so hard and you get to your first final, you're like, I don't even know how I got here, but I got here, but you worked so hard, but you can't pinpoint what happened, but you didn't do it on your own. It's usually never
like this huge turning point, right? It's the consistency over time. And you started this in 2014. We're now in 2022. For anybody who's thinking like, I didn't succeed this year. Hey, it's 8 years. 8 years that put into this, and plus all of the time before that went into the knowledge building and experience and book, 8 years into developing. And since Optimum first exists, now Club of the Year, that's unreal. But that takes time, consistency, ups and downs. Had to push it away a little bit to tackle some more important things, and then bring it back to perspective, right?
Tears and sleepless nights. Oh my goodness. Just trying to do better. But one thing is that I tell my players that is really important is like, I didn't do it alone. You can have all your training, you can play your volleyball. You don't do it alone. Somebody's going to be there with you, or you've had many people come along the way. And that's what, to get those votes, it's not me saying, hey, look at us, we're good. It's about all the parents and players and former parents and players who gave their time to actually vote for us. And you don't get those votes unless you did the work. And I'm proud of my coaches and Jules as my director, because I could not do it without them. There's no way I could not do it without them. And my wife in the beginning, just pushing me to be better at business, because I always say I was a volleyball player. All I care was about eat, sleep, train, and plan my next trip. So once I started I started Optimum Beach, I was like, how do I do all this business stuff? You don't do it alone. So that's why you need to build a team around you, whatever you do.
I think that's a good place for us to cut it here. Such a good conversation, Pri. I can't thank you enough for sharing, telling me everything. I feel like I know you a lot better, and I would love to have you on more on the other podcast. Is someday I'll release the episodes, but we can talk about like the actual business side and then your experience learning that, because I'm sure there's a number of people that do want to start a club but have no idea how to start, or they hesitate for years because it's just scary to start your own.
Reach out. I always have people reaching out, and I'm willing to share. I want to grow the game. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be through me. I want to help. So
awesome.
Feel free.
Well, thank you so much, guys. If you guys want to follow Pri Lima and what she is doing, We have all of the links included in our podcast underneath this. This video is on YouTube. Of course, it'll be in the description, and we will link and tag every one of her sites, her companies, and her personal Instagram. And like she just said, reach out. If you're going down to Florida, if you want to start your own club, if you want to become a part of Optimum, she just mentioned that she just gives internships for kids who are looking for work experience and in the sporting world. So if you need a job, an internship, it never hurts to throw at least a message to somebody so that you can learn how to do a job effectively, or maybe just become an employee. That goes for you and me both. you guys got any skills? Like I want to add to my Rolodex of people who've got great skills.
Same.
Yeah. Even if your skill is hustle, right?
Yeah. I just want to put one more thing. I started a TikTok with Beach Coach's Diary. So you're going to get to like know a little bit more what's in my head. And every once in a while, I also started posting like cute little, not cute, but like some good little drills that I love.
Awesome.
That, I just made up. So.
And it's, what is it on TikTok?
Beach Coach Diaries.
Beach Coach Diaries on TikTok. Cool. Follow along. All right, Pri. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That was great.
Yes, my pleasure. Anytime.
Have a nice day. Bye.
You too. Bye.